We are with JoJo Fastrich. This is a really cool experience, a really cool opportunity because those of you who have played live music before know that the tech people that are with you are the ones that are going to make you or break you. And they're the ones that are going to make everything the way it should be. I've lost gigs because the tech was wrong. So, how you doing, JoJo? How you doing now?
Right.
So what is you're pretty much slowed down just like everyone else?
Yeah, COVID has killed our industry for a while. So I'm just really waiting for the arenas to come back, and I still work at Promo West Pavilion. Um,
Where is that?
it's in Columbus on Neal Avenue downtown. It's owned by AEG
Okay.
Entertainment Group, and I still work there, and I'm with the IATSE Local 12 out there, Deuces. Um,
The Union.
yep, they're a union.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. So how'd you get your start in this? Like not just teching, because you're all kinds of tech. You're not just a drum tech. That's what's cool about you. Not that there's anything wrong with being a drum tech, but you're all kinds of tech. You're all over the place. But the thing, like I guess this is the case of a lot of people, but you are also a musician. So how did you get started in music?
Well, it's kind of a great story. My grandfather was a drummer in Philadelphia, and he used to play in German nightclubs like polka music.
Okay.
And as a little kid, 5 years old, I used to sit in a chair right beside the drum set and I watched his feet, I watched the hi hat, and I was like, man, I want to do that. And slowly but surely, I learned a little bit. I probably teched for him, carried his drums in and out of the clubs at night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got started. And then I went to school in Philadelphia. I'm from Philadelphia originally, the northeast side of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a Catholic school called St. Martin of Tours. It's on the boulevard.
Yeah.
And I had a nun called Sister Rosa Melda. Actually, a nun, believe it or not, taught me rudiments,
All right.
rolls.
And you
And that
better
was,
have gotten them down because if
boy, if you didn't, she whacked you. She had this pointer. You remember them pointers that had the rubber tip on the end?
uh-huh.
And if you were drumming and you even missed a note, whack! It was
Yeah.
like, okay, I got this, sister. Get away from me.
Yeah.
So anyway, to make that a long story short, we marched in the Thanksgiving Day parades, and we were one of the youngest bands on the strip. And I played a snare that was one of them deep snares. The snare was bigger than me. I was like 13 years old. Oh man! And
Yeah.
it had this leg strap on it. My leg was completely bruised, but we lined up on the steps of the Ben Franklin Museum beside this band called Carnal Doherty, and they were all older guys. And we rolled up with our little, I got this big drum. I'm like, my outfit probably didn't even fit me. And we practiced in front of them and they clapped. It was really cool. And we were like, wow, these older kids, but we marched with them. I think we marched, it may have been 5 miles. I don't even remember, but I remember carrying that damn drum down the street. And by the time I got to the end, my leg hurt so bad, I just wanted to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
So, the story of Philadelphia, I lived there as a kid, and my dad always wanted to get us out of there. My neighborhood was starting to turn quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't want us living there.
Yeah.
So he found a job in Harrisburg. His actually company moved him there. So the day that I graduated, I moved to Harrisburg. And well, not Harrisburg, the Camp Hill area. And you know where the Camp
New.
Hill area is. Yep.
Yep. That's my
So,
that's my second home.
right?
A lot of the places you talk about from your childhood, I now go through once a week.
That is so cool because
Yeah.
I was back there last year and I just looked around. I was like, wow, this is so a blast from the past.
Yeah.
So anyway, we moved to Harrisburg, and I was probably about 15 in high school, and I used to go to this mall called Capital City Mall, and I know you know where that is too.
I do.
And there was a supercade in there, like a video game room. And I was a hood rat. I used to spend all my time in there. I mean, I spent all my money there. And
Mhm.
there was this janitor that would go around. The guy had like a mohawk. He always wore like all crazy shit chains, and he'd push the broom down through the mall. You know, people made fun of him. I mean, because back then, nobody, that was a new look to America.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let alone Harrisburg.
Oh yeah, and Greg Stoner was the guy, and his nickname became Bernie the punk rock janitor.
Okay.
So Bernie had I played drums and I jammed with some people, but Bernie had a band, and I had a guitar player, and
Yeah.
he wanted to write more songs, and we came over one night and jammed with him. He's like, "Yeah, let's do this," and the janitors were formed,
Okay.
and we were a hardcore punk band. I mean, not the fake Green Day punk. We
Hmm.
were hardcore punk rock.
Yeah.
That's not
Who
really
did
what I
you kind
grew
of
up.
sound like?
Yeah,
Who did you sound like?
I would say we had a twist of the Sex Pistols and the Dead Boys mixed
Okay.
together.
That's my favorite. Like that's my favorite punk from back.
Right.
I was more Sex Pistols than Maroons back then.
Yeah, and I always dug the Sex Pistols. I mean, I was always into heavy metal, but I
Mhm.
had an opportunity to play, and this band got to play out. Um, One of our gigs was July 1st. People are going to freak, but 1978.
1978.
1978. I'm old.
I was 10 years old.
Well, okay, I was up rocking on, it was Atlantis then. The club was called Atlantis.
Yeah.
And, here we're doing a road trip in a station wagon. We get down there, we load in, and we played with the band Tina Peel, which was really popular. I mean, they were a punk band too, but they wrote a song about Bernie, which was the punk rock janitor. We played the song as well.
Yeah.
And they invited us along, and we really didn't know what was going on, but they put us on in between their first set and their second set. The place was sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like 17. I walked on the stage and looked at it's punk rockers, like people with safety pins in their cheeks, just throwing bottles,
The real deal.
shooting on each other. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, that was the main thing I remember about playing that club was the bottles I was dodging. I
Yeah.
mean, they were flying by my head. Like, and I'm like, well, one of these is going to hit me eventually, but they never did. So we played that club. We played 3 songs. They invited us up, and they explained who the punk rock janitor was, and we hammered it out, man. I think we did really well because it seemed like we did well, and it was just kind of a prime experience in my life because that club is now the 930 Club, and I don't know if anybody out there on Facebook has ever heard of the 930 Club. It's a
Of course.
rocking place.
Of course. You talking
Well,
about you talking about DC?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's
Okay.
on in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
And that's pretty close to Harrisburg. I mean, people
Yeah.
don't realize it's not that far away.
Like 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a long drive.
Yeah.
So I went to Cedar Cliff High School. The band did okay. We were limited to where we could play. I mean, you can't go into a bar where people are drinking and start hammering out, "I'm a junkie, I'm a punk,"
Hmm.
all that crap. You can't do that. People would look at you like you were nuts,
Hmm.
especially back then. So we ended up disbanding, and I hung around Cedar Cliff, and I was real tight friend. Well, I mean, I was totally friends with Ricky Rocket.
Yes.
Um,
Which what was his real name?
I don't want to say it on here. I really don't. I just don't. I don't play that way.
All right.
It's better off.
I didn't know if it was secret, so.
It isn't secret. Everybody kind of knows his name, but I'm not going to blab it out. But
Okay.
anyway, we used to hang out in my school. We had a smoking lounge. Smoking lounge, people. Could you imagine a school today with a smoking lounge? Okay, so anyway, I used to hang out in there with him, and we smoked cigarettes. We smoked about everything in there. Ricky didn't smoke, but I smoked a lot of weed in there myself. We used to listen to Agents of Fortune, Blue Oyster Cult. You ever heard that album?
I have. That was burnt. No, that was Godzilla.
Oh yeah,
That was
that whole album rocks.
yeah.
And Ricky was real into Rush back then. Like I went over and watched his band rehearse one time. They were called Ecstasy, and they played 2112 from beginning to end perfectly. And I was just like, damn. But I wasn't a 2112 person because I like heavier music.
Yeah.
I mean, it just didn't do anything for me. But so I noticed Ricky's drums when I was there, and they were covered. They were velvet. I'm like, man, where'd you get the set, dude? And because my set was 2 different colors. I had 2 different Ludwig sets that I put together as a double kick set. I'll show you a picture. Here's the kit that I played in the Janitors. That was all different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And Ricky's like, man, just go buy some contact paper from anywhere, Kmart, wherever, wrap your drums in it. So I did, and it worked out. And I went to high school with him, and then when I moved away, I never really saw him until he hit the road. And I would walk in arenas and just talk to him because a lot of times I was working.
Mm-hmm.
Because I teched and played and teched and drove. It was a menagerie back then.
They were the Spectres?
What's that?
Just the Spectres?
Yeah, he was in, and then Ecstasy became Spectres after that, and then they moved to L.A., and I lost touch with them. I mean,
but after the Spectres was Paris.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't follow them that much because, dude, I was doing my own thing.
You were in Ohio by then, probably.
I was in Ohio.
Yeah.
And I'll move on to that because I ran into them out in L.A. when I moved out there to Hollywood. So anyway, that was like 77 through 79. I was in the Janitors. And then I moved to Columbus because, my dad was like, his company offered him more money. And 3 Mile Island had happened that year. And, my dad's like, we need to get out of here because I don't want to live by a nuclear plant. And, when we did live there, I took my brother and my grandmother west, and we met them in Ohio, and we came out to Ohio, and I didn't know anybody out here. I was already in the music business in Pennsylvania, and I'm like, I got to start over. And Rod, that sometimes could be hard.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know where to go, who to see. So I started asking around at my job, and they said, hey, there's this bar called the Alrosa Villa. You got the Agora and the Sugar Shack, which was a really cool bar in Columbus back in the day. Bikers owned it. It was called Sugar Shack. And I met the first band I ever saw, Alrosa, was Rosie. And it wasn't the Rosie that was on later. It was Dennis Craig. Butch, I don't remember because, man, it was a long time ago. And Mark Chatfield obviously was in the band.
He was a founding member.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the bar was cool. It was a little bar, and I'm like, I met other musicians there, and I started, getting to know everybody. Then the Alrosa expanded and got bigger, and I met this band called Vengeance there. And their drummer, Jimmy, was flaking out. Like, he just wasn't showing up. And they asked me to play with them, and I played with them for a couple years. It was all cover music. Not that it was bad, it was fun. And in that band, we had a guy, I'm getting a paper over here. He was named Tommy John. He's in this picture. He's the bottom guy. He's the lead singer. He's deceased now, and it's really sad. But this was the band photo we had taken. And so I was with that band for a while, and then Tommy decided to leave, and he went with Shock 2 and some other bands. And, I was cool with that.
Okay.
And I was cool with that. I mean, Ricky Soga and me kind of danced around a little bit, but we are friends today. And if Ricky sees this, we're friends today, but we danced around about him stealing my singer.
Yeah.
It was the 80s, man. I needed a freaking singer now.
Yeah.
So that band ended up disbanding, and I formed Streetwise out of that. And some of the members in the band from that particular band came with me and joined Streetwise. I had to get both guitar. Most of the band was Streetwise that I started. We played cover music. I'll show you a picture. This is a picture of us, and don't laugh. That outfit's custom made, by the way.
Which one is you?
I'm on the end by my face. Nice leopard outfit there, or whatever the hell that was. Snake skin. It was the damn 80s, man.
No, you look good.
Come on.
You look like you were an angel.
Yeah, right. So,
Funky Meadows brother.
Yeah, well, Punky Meadows, dude, is one of my, Yeah, Angel, and I'll tell you a story about that too. Angel.
Hmm.
Let's keep on track with Vengeance, and then I formed Streetwise, and we played. We got picked up by American Bands Management, which most of the musicians in Columbus were on American Bands Management. They booked us tri-stately. Back then, you played 4 nights somewhere, 3 nights. You didn't play one night. You
Hmm.
played. So we decided to do like medleys of like Deep Purple, Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, to not bore everybody. We wanted
Yeah.
to put on a different show every night, and then usually Saturday night we played everything.
Yeah, it was a mixture.
Yeah, and that band, like I said, we played a lot. I mean, and I bought a bus finally, and I made the back of the bus an equipment storage, but the front of the bus you could sleep or do whatever. And we drove that bus like my friends were diesel mechanics because I'm also a semi driver. If that doesn't surprise you,
Yeah, right.
I don't have a CDL anymore, but and I don't want it because I wouldn't want to drive a truck anymore.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we had that bus, and I was the only one that could drive it. And this is paying your dues in rock and roll. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize this.
Yes, this is important, people.
I used to go to work every week and drive a semi from Monday through Thursday or Friday, probably 2,000 miles a week. And then I would jump in that bus already loaded and drive another 100 miles and play as the drummer, load in. We did sound check, get done playing like a third day into that and load out and head back home and get back in a truck and do the same thing. And man, it was rough, but I was young. I had a lot of energy. I'm 60 and I got a shit ton of energy. That's just how I am. Some people can't handle my energy, and they can't. I don't know what to tell you. Anyhow,
If they can't,
yeah, right. So anyway, I'm gonna tell a short story about that band. Mark Christensen was in that band. Jimmy Adagnostis. Tommy every now and then sat in with us, like if we were around Columbus.
Mhm.
Tommy John, which he was in the movie Decline of the Western Civilization 2.
Okay.
A friend of mine named Rick Fox, and I had seen it later down the line. I was like, damn, Tommy's really hitting it.
Rick Fox I know Rick Fox as the bass player for Steeler,
Yeah.
but he has a history that goes back to New York and New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't think he knew me back in the Gazzarri days as well because I was a tech. When he never saw me play because we were heavy.
It's another Punky Meadows lookalike, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've seen Rick around, in the past couple of years. But here's my streetwise story.
Mhm.
So we go out of town. It's a long week. I drive. We play the gig. It was 4 nights, and we're going to load out. And I can't find the band, and I need them to help me load out. So where's the band? And at the time, I had Mama D. Bardem was with me as my road manager because I was driving the bus, playing the drums, and I'm like, Mama D, you have to help me.
Mama Do?
Mama D Bardem. She's worked for Dio,
Okay.
Man of War, a lot of big bands. But she managed us, and so she's like, I don't know where they're at, JoJo. And I was like, okay. I said, we got to get out of here, and I'm starting to get pissed. So I went and got the bouncers and the bar guys helped me load out. So the bus was packed, it was running. So they walk up about 4:00 in the morning, and I had to be back home because I was getting in a truck at like 7 to go back on the road again for the week. So I booted the windshield of the bus out on their side, the passenger side, because I drove the bus, remember?
Yeah.
And I put my foot through it. I was like, don't ever do that to me again. I'm like, that I'm all in, but you guys got to help. Nobody is better than anybody in this band. You're all touching gear. So anyway, they drove home that night. We had like a 100-mile drive, and I was looking in the bus mirror because I could see them in the lounge behind me, and nobody spoke. They were just looking at me like, oh my God. And their hair was blown because the wind was coming. And we were thinking about like if a bird flies across, it's going to fly into the bus. So we laughed about that. And we got home, and like I said, I don't know, that was wearing me out though, working like that and doing that. And that's when I started to do a little cocaine. because it kept me up. I could stay up. I could go to work.
Mm-hmm.
I could do all the things I wanted to do if I did a line of coke. What a lie. Anyhow, so Streetwise, I'm gonna keep going because I got a lot to cover. During those years of Streetwise, I ended up meeting a band called Madam X from Detroit. And towards the end of Streetwise, I worked for them for a little bit, and I went to Detroit with them. I knew them from back in the day when they played Columbus as a band called Black Lace, and Sebastian had joined the band, and he was new to the band, and me and him shared an apartment with this guy named Stan, and I got to know Sebastian pretty well. I mean, if he went out anywhere, they usually sent me with him. We broke down one night in downtown Detroit in his van, and I'm telling you, man, it was kind of freaky. Two of us walking down the highway, but we didn't get mugged or anything. What's that?
He had to be really young at that point.
He was.
Yeah.
He was very young.
Yeah.
And I had met him and worked with them for a while. And my son Sebastian was born. We were getting ready to hit the road because we had built the set and we were getting ready to head out. I did a couple gigs with him. And my first wife had my son Sebastian, and I came home. I mean, I couldn't stay out on the road; it just wasn't right. So I came home for the family. Plus, I was starting to mess a lot with cocaine, and maybe needed to come back. But that wasn't the end of that part of it. But so I came back home for a while, and it wasn't a great feeling that I wanted to stay out on the road, but I just couldn't. My family, I needed to be with my family.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. And I don't know, that's we'll talk more about Sebastian down the line because there's a little more of my story about him too.
Yeah.
So after working for Madam X, I had seen Poison's videos and stuff like that, and I kept looking at the TV and I'm thinking, Ricky's out there, they're making it, other people I know are making it. I have to go to Hollywood. I can't stay in Ohio. If I stay in Ohio, I'll never make it in music. So I packed up my van, put my drums in the back. I was married at the time. My son Sebastian was there. And that was kind of a train wreck because there was a lot of cocaine involved in that too. And we'll talk about that later. And anybody that judges me on here, I'm clean. I don't do this stuff anymore and I hate it. So anyway, I'm going to keep on with the story. So anyhow, I ended up going to LA and I get there and I stayed at my friend TK, which owns TK Productions, which he was big here in Ohio. He did the Metal Brigade, several big, festivals. And he said, yeah, Jojo, you can come stay at my house. And I didn't know they lived in South Central LA. And I was like, damn, I pulled up and I'm like, wow, this is going to be fun. So I came in, there wasn't a bedroom. There was musicians living there. My bed was behind the couch and a wall of Marshalls was my doorway. Mm-hmm. So, I could sleep all day if I wanted because the Marshalls, blocked me. So I stayed there for about a week. And I went to Gazzarri's one night and I was watching the band. I happened to look over and my best friend from my childhood, Jerry Marsicano, is running sound. And I'll have to find a picture of Jerry if I can find one in here. I'll find a picture of him, but it's Jerry Marsicano. He's a sound guy. The guy is incredible.
From Harrisburg.
Yeah, he's from Harrisburg. Yeah. He lived in New Cumberland right by me. We hung out together. As kids, we built chopper bikes, like out of bicycles. We would cut the forks off and put ape hangers on them. Mm-hmm. We did idiot shit like that. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, I saw Jerry and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to start crying because I hadn't seen him in so long. He was in a band in PA, but I can't remember what the name of it was to save my life. Huh?
What did he play?
He was a guitar player. I think they were called Wicked Kid, or I don't remember, so I'm not going to just start quoting stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, Jerry and me hooked up, and I didn't want to stay in South Central LA because that neighborhood was different at night than it was during the day. And I was getting home at like 2 a.m, and there were gunshots everywhere. It was ridiculous. I mean, I was like, I'm getting out of here. So I moved up to North Hollywood with Jerry and his family. And we decided to get a house in Reseda finally because a bunch of us were living together. Like, let's just get a house. So we moved to Reseda, which is in the Valley. They call it the Valley in LA. Uh-huh. On the 405 to the 101. So anyhow, we got this house on Chastain Boulevard, and we all lived there. And me and Jerry formed a band called 976 Dead. And Jerry is one talented guitar player. I mean, this guy is effing incredible. Like, I just can't tell you. I have so much respect for him. Plus the fact that he's a sound guy, and he's probably one of the best sound guys I've ever been around.
You learned a lot from him.
I did, and he taught me a lot. And it was good. I mean, the band was good, but we couldn't find a singer. We never could find a singer in LA because they were hard to find. So this guy Strat from the band Hand and Tramp shows up, and one hell of a singer.
PA band.
You ever heard him?
Yeah.
Yeah, Strat. I mean, he's Rob Halford incarnated. I mean, the dude can scream.
Yeah.
But we practiced with him. We did one show at the Troubadour, and I think I have the ticket. I'm trying to find it here. I got this all botched up as usual, but that's kind of the fun of doing this.
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture of Jerry though, and here's one of the tickets from the show.
Okay.
Troubadour, and this is Jerry.
Okay.
So anyway, the band, I was living in LA and I started working at Gazzarri's, and we couldn't find a singer, and we did the show with Strat. We recorded the song The Ripper, which Jerry wrote, and Warner Brothers was interested in us. So the guy comes over to our garage. It's like 110 degrees, and we had to play for him. And it was like, shit, man, I'm going to die. I'm from Ohio, and it's hot as F here. And so anyway, we were shelved till we found a singer, but they found a singer. But let me tell you more of the story. I was working at Gazzarri's as a sound guy and loading in and loading out. And again, drugs were everywhere. It was Hollywood. I mean, all I had to do was snap my fingers and you could have an 8-ball of Coke in your hand in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So, I started getting a lot of drugs out there, and I was missing my family at home. My first wife came out there with me for a while, but my house had 8 musicians in it. People were sleeping in closets. Tommy John lived with us. Shane Hunter lived with us, which are close friends from Ohio. They were in a band called Mad Moxie out there. You might hear that name. And Shane still plays. He's in a Rolling Stones cover band, and I know that he's got a similar story to mine a little bit. So anyway, the drugs were bringing me down, and I was starting to get down because we couldn't find a singer. It was like frustrating to me. Like, I wanted to play. I didn't want to be a tech at that point. I wanted to play freaking music, and it was all original. Like, I like original music. It's just me.
Well, you don't go to Hollywood to play cover in a cover band.
No. And Gazzarri's was a great experience, Rod.
If everyone doesn't know what Gazzarri's, the importance of Gazzarri's, it should be noted that this is a place that many, many, many people that are household names have gotten their record deal. And it's like Van Halen.
Oh, yeah.
That was their college. Gazzarri's was their college.
Absolutely.
Bullet Boys and South Gang and all these different bands I hear of, they got their record deal from there because it was the place. It was a meeting place that industry people were there.
Well, Geffen Records was right across the street. Like I could.
That didn't hurt.
What's that?
That didn't hurt.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, that club was interesting because we were messing around the storeroom one night and we found pictures of Jim Morrison in there that were black and white. We found pictures of Van Halen that were black and white. I don't even know if they were Van Halen then. But Bill Gazzarri knew every picture in that box. And Bill was tied in, I think. And we weren't about to take any, and he told us if any of them pictures were missing, you guys are, and I'm like, yeah, we know, put the boxes down and went back downstairs.
Yeah.
So, LA was really starting to get to me. I was getting frustrated, and I ended up really hitting the ground with drugs, man. I was a complete train wreck. And I remember driving all the way back from LA, and, when I got to the top of the mountain and I looked back at Hollywood, I got out for a second and I almost cried because I was like, man, I had my chance and I blew it. So I drove home with my tail between my legs. I had enough cocaine to get home. So I drove. It took me 2 days. It usually takes people 3, but I was like, and I had my drums in the back, and I ended up getting carbon monoxide poisoning because I had a Dodge Tradesman that had like a 318 in it with pipes on it. One of my pipes broke. And I didn't realize it was leaking into the van. So I got home and I'm gray, like my skin, my eyes were messed up. And my mom and then thought something was wrong. It was I was having trouble because I was out of cocaine. I was sick. So I ended up, getting help for the van stuff where I had, it was like carbon monoxide poisoning. And then as soon as I did that, I checked in a rehab center. I was like, I need to go get help. I'm like, man, the reason I'm back home is because of me, drugs. My mom goes, I know it. She goes, Jerry called us and told us everything. She's like, don't get mad at him, but he loves you. He told us everything. I said, I know. I said, he was looking out for me. He was worried about me. He's a dear friend of mine, and I love him, and I always will. So, years went on, and I came back, and I didn't play right away. And I was like kind of gun shy about it. And then I joined the band Dr. Lecter. So there were several different members, but when I was in the band, it was Greg Montoya. Paul, I have a picture of them here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh boy, nice job. I wonder who put all this stuff together.
What is it?
I'm gonna have to talk to him. Here's Dr. Lecter.
Okay. Which one are you?
In the middle, in the back. I'm the drummer. We always get shoved in the back.
Okay.
We were hair farmers. We had a lot of hair back then.
So
that band, regionally, we were an original band, and the members of the band was Paul Stevens, Trent Anderson, Greg Montoya, and myself. And I did a lot of the management part of it, booking us, getting us in places, and flyering, because back then flyers was big. I'll tell you about that. Well, I'll actually go back to that after the story. And, the band did really well. I mean, we sound like Alice in Chains. We had a lot of originals. We also did covers, and we selected the covers. It wasn't like we just picked everything that was popular on the radio because it just wasn't who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And that band went along for years, man. And again, it's like if I got back in bars and I got around the wrong people and I got weak, my addiction started back up.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I'd see somebody, doing something, and be like, man.
You tried, right?
Yeah, and I kind of fell again into the perils of addiction, and I knew I was getting bad again. So again, I checked into a rehab center. I got the help. I did 12-step programs forever. I peeled the onion layer back and looked at why I was doing what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It just didn't make sense that I was getting that, bad quickly. But when I was around music, it happened a lot. So that band I kind of stepped out of, and they went on and they hired Tony Stanzak, I believe was our drummer, and Dan LaVerse joined us. And Dan was a great guitar player. I played with him a little bit in Dr. Lecter before I left, but I gracefully stepped out of that because I was too fucked up to play. I mean, I was a train wreck. It wasn't good. I needed to get away from the bar scene for a while, and I drove a truck. Like I owned semis at one point. I was an owner operator. And that was always my go-to was drive a truck, or do tech stuff or whatever. I mean, whatever I had to do to make money, I did it. I wasn't going to sit at home. And that band, we got a little bit of success to us. We did a video on this TV program, Power Chord Clowns, which was out of Louisville, Kentucky. And we drove down there and did an interview on TV. It was like a Johnny Carson set with 2 metalhead clowns. One was named Bong Hit, and I don't know what the other one was named. And it was a cool show. I mean, they played. Everybody was on there. TSLO, all those bigger bands were on there, and we got an offer to do it, and we did the show. It was really fun. I mean, we did a lot of fun things in Dr. Lecter. We played all the time. We were tight. We were a tight knit family for a long time, but there were a lot more stories, but I won't be able to tell you about the rest of the stuff that I have to tell you about. So, I mean, Dr. Lecter was a great band back in the day. We were dedicated, and we could have made it big if we would have probably talked to, the right people. But with me spiraling, I didn't feel comfortable doing that. You follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I knew I was getting, out of control, and it got worse and worse. So I left the business again, and on and off I had seen Sebastian Bach. While I was off, I went to concerts, and
Yes.
I used to go see them play wherever they play, and they were opening for Pantera was opening for him actually, because he was in Skid Row. And I remember one time walking in the Pittsburgh Arena, and he didn't know I was coming. I was walking down the center aisle, and after the song, he starts yelling, "JoJo's here!" I'm like, "Oh hell no!" I was like, "Wow." So I ended up hanging out with them then, and that's how I met like Dimebag and the band Pantera, which were really cool dudes. I mean, I got along with them great. I mean, I got along with BLS great. I toured with them. So anyway, we ended up hanging out, and then I had seen him a lot after that, and he came to town, and I was working for a sound company called Live Technologies, and I'm at work at the warehouse, and he calls the warehouse, he's screaming in his phone, "You need to come down here and pick me up." And I'm like, "Okay, where are you at?" He's at the Palace Theater in Columbus. I'm like, "Oh hell." And it's all union guys in there, stage hands. And he had kind of went off the deep end. His dad had passed away several weeks before that, and he was doing Jesus Christ Superstar. It was a play. I have the Broadway playbill. It's right there. So Sebastian was.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I picked him up. He had road cases in the dressing room that were upstairs because you have to use an elevator to get down. And, stagehands were not real helpful because they were pissed because he was being a dick at the time. And he can get mad at me for saying that. But anyway, so we ended up getting out of there, and I took him back to my house. My kids were jamming in the basement, but he came in, my second wife was cooking dinner, and he follows me up the steps, and she about dropped the pan, hot pan on her foot. She's like, "What the hell?" So I had him at my house for a couple of days, and I ended up calling his wife, and we ended up getting him a flight back to New Jersey or a van. I can't remember what we did. I think we loaded his equipment in the van, and he drove it back. After he had calmed down, because I realized when I got him back to my house, I had just lost my dad 6 months before that. Okay. I realized what he was going through. He had just lost his dad like a week before that. And we sat in my basement and listened to Neil Young and just basically cried.
Yeah.
And I told him, it'll get better someday, but right now it's raw. And, and he went on his way. He went back to New Jersey, and I hadn't seen him for a real long time. And I've seen him on and off again. And then he came out with the book 18 in Life. And, I want to bring this up just because it's something interesting to me. This is the book 18 in Life.
Yeah.
He actually mentions that incident in the book, and that I was one of the roadies from Madam X, and he mentions it in the book because, like I said, I've known him since he's been 17 years old. We've seen each other on and off. He's busy, I'm busy. That's the way that works. It's not like a name dropping thing or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't give a crap.
Well, the thing of it is, you can't even talk about that. If you work for all these people, it's not name dropping.
Well, I get it. I know, but there's a lot of haters out there that, oh man, he's talking shit. And, and I just get sick of that shit. I've got one thing for them, and that's right there. So anyhow, I don't know. I came back from the Dr. Lecter thing, and then I joined a band called Wicked Angel. And Wicked Angel, I'll show you a picture of Wicked Angel here. Again, I have short hair. I was in a little trouble that point, and I had to go to court, so I cut my hair off because I didn't want to, I don't know. It's a long story, but that band recorded a CD we did it at Metropolis Studios, and I'm on their second album, Heads Will Roll, and I did the drum parts, and we played at some shows. The members of that band were Rob Rose, Vicky Spencer, Dwight Farmer, which is a phenomenal guitar player. The guy smokes.
Yeah.
And I was drumming, and I was a singer. And, we got a deal with RMG Records, and it was in Germany. Noise Records was in Germany, the hub of metal. And, I stayed in the band for a while, and then we were supposed to go to Europe, and we went, several places. And then, I dropped out because, again, I had a family. I wasn't making any money. The band, we'd kind of had some interactions that weren't great. I didn't really care for the singer. He kind of embezzled money and did some other things that were just kind of not good. So that's why I left the band. I just was like, fuck this, I'm out of here. So, we got into that album, ended up in this magazine, and that's them on the front cover, Dwight and Vicky.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's a German publication. We ended up in a magazine called Heavy Oder Was, which I can't even read this magazine. The whole damn thing's in Germany, and my picture's in there, and I see the thing, but it's like, okay. And that was kind of interesting to me that, we kind of pushed it to that level. I was on the CD and I bowed out, and Matt Smith took my place, and Matt was one hell of a drummer. And I got out of the business at that point and started doing production. I was like, fuck it, I'm done with bands. This is bullshit. Dealing with all these headaches with people embezzling money.
Kinder in a lot of ways, is it not?
What's that?
Production is kinder to.
Oh, and the good thing about production is I rely on myself. If I'm told to do something, I do it. I don't rely on other people. A lot of people that work with me can hand me a task and they don't have to follow me around. It'd get done probably faster than they would do it, maybe. I don't know. I have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I stayed in production for a while, and I was working at Budweiser, actually driving a truck too while I was doing production. And I got an offer to go out on Ozfest, and I was like, I'm like, okay. So I got a call from Upstaging. They're a trucking company, one of the biggest in the United States that does entertainment. And I got to go out on Ozfest, and I had a driver with me at the time that was I hung out with a girl named Peggy Pache that was a driver. And I said, hey, you want to go out on Ozfest? I need drivers. She thought I was crazy, man. She's like, you're out of your mind, old man. We ended up getting on a plane. We went back to Budweiser, parked the truck, told them we quit. The next day we were on a plane and we're driving brand new Peterbilts to San Francisco. And we got there, and it was my first tour with Ozfest. And they give you these tour books. They give them to all the drivers. Mm-hmm. And this is an interesting thing that not a lot of people know about, but it tells you where you're going to be, what you're going to do, what you're going to eat. And, all the times are
thoroughly organized.
Yeah. And, Rod, without that book, a lot of times I'd be lost because, you're out there on the road. Is it a day off? Am I driving? And some of our drives are ridiculous. I mean, I left San Diego one time and drove all the way to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And again, I had a little help from my friend, on that. Well, I was starting to get bad again because I was out on the road on Ozfest with a lot of people that did drugs. And I don't know, my marriage at the time was like really getting bad with my second wife, and she ended up getting tired of me being gone, and off she went. I was like, oh, well, here I go again. So, when I got back from that, being on tour with Upstaging, I got help again, and I started to go to a lot of NA meetings. I started to peel away the onion again. I started to pray a lot because, my addiction was pretty bad at one time, and it just, for me, it was hard. So anyway, to keep moving, I drove for them. I did a tour with Sheryl Crow, which I have the pass from that, with John Mayer.
Okay.
Okay. I also have my Gazzarri's pass for all the people who think the Gazzarri story's bullshit. There it is. Whoop. See it? Gazzarri's. And that's what's funny about society today, and it really cracks me up, is everybody has to see stuff to believe it, you know? And I
Mm-hmm.
get tired of that shit. If people don't respect whatever, they can just get out of my life. I'm
Yeah.
not into that. So anyway, I went through recovery again. I was going to meetings. I stayed clean for, quite a long time at that point, and I ended up getting married to a girl in Cincinnati that was a biker. She rode a chopper, and I met her, I think, when I was out on Sheryl Crow, in Cincinnati, and then I saw her on Matchmaker, and I'm telling you, it was rough. Okay, there were good times, but there were a lot of bad times. I got really into the biker community then. I was riding a lot with 1% bikers, but they were good to me. They treated me well. They respected me. We rode together. I won't mention the club names because I don't do that on the internet. They were great people. They never messed with me. I had some problems with some people, but it didn't bother me. I don't scare real easy. I've seen a lot of shit in my life.
Uh-huh.
So you put a picture up the other day of me playing in a church, and I was playing for a church
Yeah.
because towards the end of me living down there, my marriage started to hit the skids again. It was like a psycho situation, and I hate to say that, but I got kind of a little crazy myself, being around bikers and all that, and I was kind of, riding with the wrong people and all that, and I don't know, it wasn't working out, and you know, I ended up moving out of there, and I moved. I was pretty much homeless for a little bit, and then a family took me in. First, my friend Phil took me in. And I don't have time to tell you the story about that. But then a family named the Hatfields took me in, and they lived in a trailer, and they let me stay there. It was awesome, but we did a lot of heroin.
Okay.
We did a lot of heroin. I was depressed. It was like, here I go again. And what's my problem is I'm a quick forgetter. I'm a quick forgetter about pain. You know, I let myself get better, and then I'll let myself get worse. It's not like that anymore because I'm older. I've learned my lesson. But anyhow, I got heavily into heroin, and one night my friend that owned this cross, he was my drum tech for the bad boys at Claremont County. And here's the last flyer I have from the bad boys of Claremont County.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see me in it. I'm the one on the motorcycle right there with the shotgun sticking up. Okay. So over that picture, I was on probation. I got pulled in because somebody called in and said, "Oh, he's got a gun, blah blah blah." So I got pulled in, and I started to go through that, and I thought, I'm getting the hell out of here. And then Josh died, and
John.
that he was my drum tech and friend.
Oh, gotcha.
And I still have his cross. His father made this. I actually took this off him at the hospital before his dad got there, and his dad said, "JoJo, take that with you. He loved you." It was rough for me, man. It really, I don't know.
Was it heroin that killed him?
Yeah. And I thought, man, I got to quit doing this shit. And I ended up packing my shit I got enough money together to get a U-Haul, and I packed my shit and I moved back to Columbus with my mom, which had Alzheimer's. But, I was riding a lot. I have this custom chopper, and I'm blasting down the highway on it. That's what I looked like back then pretty much, because that's pretty much all I did was
What year are we
ride.
talking?
Here's what I look like. I look a little different now than I did back then. I needed a little sleep there. We were up all night.
What year are we talking?
This was early 2000s, later 2000s, because I'd went on Ozfest and I'd met this girl after Sheryl Crow. So to make a long story short, I came back to Columbus, and when I lived down there, it was okay. I'm not a country boy. I'm from the city, man. And it was hard for me to live in the country. So I moved back to Columbus, and I think at that point I started not wanting to play anymore after Wicked Angel and the Bad Boys of Claremont County. I bowed out of that band again because of heroin. I mean, I was doing it and playing, and and they knew it. And I wasn't feeling good about myself, so I moved back home. I got help again. I got clean, and I have stayed clean for 10 years now. I haven't touched heroin or cocaine,
Mhm.
and I really feel like it took me through all that, and we talked about me crawling through broken glass to stay in the rock and roll industry.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Rod, I love this industry, but it was at times dragging me down because of all the outside interferences, that go on with it. And a lot of musicians don't understand that. They're on uh, American Idol and The Voice. When they make it and they go on the road and see what goes on the road, and it doesn't happen on all tours, but it happens. And I got 10 years, and I pretty much do production now, and I've been doing production for 10 years. But when I first came back to Columbus, my name was Mud. I mean, it was Mud. I looked like a gritty old biker. I was tired. I got help. Some people knew I was doing heroin, some didn't. I got clean, and I lost my two friends down there over heroin, which, you know, I don't know. I realized it wasn't good. The business was pulling me back into it. But as a roadie, I'm not quite around, and I can get away from it, and I'm stronger now. Like when I go in and I'm around people doing those kind of drugs, I don't want to be around them. I just
Yeah.
don't want to be around them.
You
And
avoid
I
it.
don't look down on them because they just haven't hit that bottom yet. And, you
With
know,
pitfall, we should make note that with each pitfall, you got help. You got the
I
help,
did.
regrouped,
I did.
and each time you fell, when you got back up, you got stronger.
I did. And it actually
So
made me a better person.
it's kind of like I always view like these kinds of things, like the chapter and the whole story are not the same thing.
I know.
Your pitfall, um, Dr. Lecter, you had to back out. That's a chapter. Wife number one, wife number two, wife number three. These are all chapters of a grand story. Now, as a sound guy, you had a Motley Crue, not sound guy.
I've never mixed Motley Crue. I mixed,
You were a tech guy.
yeah, I'm a tech guy. I have mixed national acts.
Yes.
I'm an analog guy. I don't like digital boards.
Mhm.
And I have mixed some national bands. I mean, I have. I've
Yes.
done.
So you've been on the tech end. You've been Ozzy Osbourne, Motley Crue, the Danzig,
Yep.
Sebastian Bach,
Yes, sir.
Bullet Boys.
They played at Gazzarri's
Yes.
early in the day.
Didn't you say the Bullet Boys got signed when you were there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then South Gang also got signed. They
Yes.
were called Fight the Bullet, and they changed their name, and
Who's
they got a record deal that night. And I think I ran sound for them. I don't know if Jerry did or I did.
okay? Say again.
I don't know if Jerry did or I did at that point. Ran sound, but I ran sound there, but I didn't know if I ran sound for South Gang that night or not. I can't remember. But
Disturbed.
yeah, they were on Ozfest with us, but I drove on that tour. I was an upstaging driver, and
Yeah,
that's
as you said, you did everything, a little bit of everything.
I did. I'm stage line. Have you ever seen the mobile stages that fold out, set up, and they look like a tractor trailer and they open up their.
Okay.
I'm certified in that. I went to Montreal to do that.
Uh-huh.
I worked extensively with Live Technologies. I was their fleet manager at one time. I took care of a lot of equipment. I don't know. I got into the roadie side, and got away from being in bands, and I got away from a lot of the drugs.
It's been kinder to you. It's a kinder life.
It is, and I can rely on myself, and I want to make money, and I'm always positive. the people that work with me, like I've taught so many people how to drive a semi that
Yeah.
are techs. Um, I've taught a lot of people to play the drums. A lot of the roadies that have come out of Columbus work for bands that were 15 and 14 years old that worked for me for a while,
Yeah.
lumping equipment, and then they ended up being techs, and they're still in the business today. I mean,
Yeah.
it's and I always felt like I had to teach, everybody. If I was doing it, I wanted to teach them how I did it, and if they
Yeah.
did it that way, they did it. If they didn't, that was fine with me too. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. But you figured some things out through all
I
this.
did. And the last time I touched drumsticks was the Bad Boys of Claremont County, and that was probably 2008. I laid the sticks down. I was in the church band
Yeah.
as well. And they were good to me. They took me in. Pastor Larry and his wife played in the band.
Mhm.
They were good people, man. They were worried sick about me because of how
Yeah.
bad I got. I mean, I was pretty bad at one point.
Yeah.
But I bounced back, and 10 years later, I got married again. This is my wife, Amy Fastrich,
Uh-huh.
and she's a sweetheart. I mean, she's changed my life, man. I mean,
That is wonderful.
she went to
Find that
meetings with
person.
me. She
Define.
went to meetings with me, Rod, religiously when I got home.
Mm-hmm.
NA meetings. We spent a lot of time reading. She helped me get to the point where I'm at today. I wouldn't be here
Mm-hmm.
in this chair if she wouldn't have helped me.
Yes.
I helped myself too.
Yeah. Yeah. Was she?
And
Did she
another,
have any problems?
huh?
Did she have any problems?
No.
Okay, so she did this completely out of love.
Yeah, she just went with me as a spectator to the
Yeah.
meetings and would
Yeah.
listen to the conversations.
Yeah.
She did learn a lot from them because NA meetings,
You learn.
you learn about gratitude, you
Yeah.
learn about grounding yourself, you learn about a higher power. And I've lived like that for quite a while, and you know, I'm getting older, but I still have a lot of energy. I'm not done in the music business. We start back up in September. I've talked to Primo West. I'll probably be back there. I know I'll be back at the
We
arena.
got to talk a little bit about Clutch too.
Well, Clutch, yeah. I've worked with them several times. My friend Baby John, if Baby John's out there, he's their lighting guy.
Yes.
And I have a story about them. I was working at Primo West, and I was taking his drum set apart one night and tearing down, and somebody bought him a cymbal, some cymbal company, and they handed it to him. He put it up for the night. So I was taking down his drum set, and he pulls a cymbal off. He hands it to me. He goes, "Jojo, you want a cymbal?" And I'm like, "You're kidding me, right?" I'm like, "That's like a $200 cymbal, dude." He goes, "No, I probably won't. My boss will probably." So he gave it to me, and we told my boss, "Hey, I gave him that cymbal. He's allowed to leave the building with it." And I went and put it in my car. So that's a cool story I have from them.
Yeah.
And every time I've worked with them, they're so cool. I mean, they're one of the coolest bands. I've worked pretty much a lot with Black Label Society when I was out with Ozzy. I used to spend a lot of time on their stage.
Uh-huh. How are
hanging
they to deal with?
Huh?
How are they to deal with?
They're really good guys. I mean, unbelievable. I became friends with. Was
Do you
that?
know JD?
Yeah.
Okay.
I became friends with JD, the bass player, because we used to see each other like on the tour, on and off, walking around, and we partied together.
We went to school together.
JD?
He doesn't remember me, I'm sure, but
Where's he from?
he's from New Jersey, but we went to Berkeley.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a Berkeley dude.
Yeah, okay.
He was part Steve Harris, part Jaco Pastorius.
Right on.
Oh my God.
Right on.
He did the.
What's even funnier is the band Brunette.
Yes.
I worked for them.
Yes.
And I went to the Omni one time.
Crossovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I went to the Omni one time with them, and Chris, I don't know what happened to him.
He's in Nashville. He invited me down to Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't go with us. So the sub guitar player was Doug Aldridge.
Yes.
Never heard the guy before.
Yeah.
I was their sound guy at the Omni, and the first time I heard him play, I was like, "Holy shit!" So every time he did a lead, man, I ripped it. It was just like and he could hear it on stage. I could tell.
Doug Aldridge went on to play in Whitesnake.
He did.
And the Dead Daisies and all kinds of
Yeah.
Lion. Like back in the day, it was Lion.
Yeah, Lion. He had a band, and I was a big fan of them. And
Yeah,
I really didn't know who he was when we got on the bus.
yeah.
We were headed from L.A. to San Francisco, and I didn't know who he was.
What is like Chris? Chris is from my hometown,
Yeah,
and
Chris, I know.
he's
That's
a great guy.
crazy, man.
Yes,
Me and you
yes.
know a lot of the same people, and I only met you a couple weeks ago.
We will. We're gonna share space. I'm coming out to Columbus.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, we are coming. Um, I will see you next month. I'll be out
Yeah.
there sometime next month.
So I'm gonna do a wrap up real quick. Is that okay? Or
That's absolutely okay.
do we have more time? Or
Go ahead, wrap it up.
we're get because I know you like to stay in the hour, and I do too. We
Yep.
can talk about my production history if you want to do another one of these.
Yes, we will. We will
Um,
absolutely do another one of these.
'Cause
Best-
it's pretty
You're a
extensive.
survivor. I will say this to you about you, Jojo. You're a survivor. You're a survivor. So this is about. I respect survivors because
Yeah,
you've overcome a lot of stuff.
I have.
Yes,
I have.
you're better.
Well,
Stronger.
and yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You want to do?
Well, I mean, Rod, the biggest thing was stepping back and taking a look at the crazy train.
Yes.
I mean, when I looked at the crazy train, I was like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't centered. I wasn't centered in God. I wasn't centered in anything.
Mhm.
When I left Claremont County in Cincinnati and moved back here, my life changed. I was running around with bike gangs down there and all that. And I'm not saying it was all bad because they're all good people, but the one thing I have learned, and I want to wrap this up because we have an hour, you know, the music business is a great business, okay? Musicians are the most exploited people on the freaking earth. Everybody's in your pocket. Rod knows it. He's shaking his head. Okay. That didn't stop me. Ricky Rocket doesn't know how much he inspired me to move to Hollywood. To this day, when I saw them on TV, I knew I had to go try and make it. There was no way I was going to sit at home on my couch.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is, musicians are human beings. We're human people. Okay. We all go through problems, but when you have to go through problems and you have to perform and you have to act like you're okay, it gets a little hairy.
Yes.
So that being said, you know, I've done a lot of steps to look at myself, look at the business. I know where I fit. I'd love to play again, but I'm scared as hell to go with a band and be gone with them and tied up with them and ruined.
Yeah.
It would freak me out. I just couldn't do it. I don't know.
Here the thing is, maybe your what you're bringing to this world is a musician's take on tech.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a good perspective.
Yeah. Maybe you weren't meant to do all the stuff that scarred you.
Yeah, and fame, you know what? Fame's a prison, man. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people that are famous. I mean, I've gone out to eat with Sebastian before, and you get in the restaurant, these this guy's in 5 minutes, somebody knows him, and got all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I live in Ohio. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for my family. I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful for anybody. I'm honored you interview me on the show. I have total gratitude towards what you're doing.
We're not even done. Yeah. That'll be a part 2.
Yeah, and all I want to do is touch people's lives. If you have a dream to make it in music,
Mm-hmm.
be ready to dive through some shit. And if you're not able to get back up, you're not going to make it.
Yes.
So, and that's what I want people to go away thinking tonight is I crawl through broken glass to stay in the business.
Yeah.
And then I changed from being a musician, but a musician's perspective being a tech, which makes it even better because I know what they're talking about.
Yes.
And I appreciate you bringing me on here, and everybody that's watching tonight. I want to thank you, and I want you to keep watching Rod's show. This is a document of really what the rock and roll industry was like. I lived in Hollywood during the 80s, and Sunset Strip was ridiculous on Saturday nights outside our club.
Yes.
It was a shit show. I mean, there were just people everywhere, and it was awesome. I mean, Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols would hang out right out front. I met him I didn't even know who the hell he was until I started talking to him.
Yeah.
But I've lived a lot of life, but I will say this. I'm glad I'm sharing this, and I'm glad I'm sharing the addiction part of it because
Absolutely.
I'm a grateful person with a good life right now. And
We are not. We were not. We're not about glorifying it either. We're just saying this is the way it is. This is
no,
what happened.
it's not glorifying because,
Yeah.
dude, that's a miserable life,
And it
man.
nearly killed you.
Miserable. And I pray for anybody that gets involved in it.
Hmm.
So I'd like to do a part two, like we talked. Maybe we'll talk about the technical side of things of what I do as a tech. So good
Yeah.
night, and I'm glad I met you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, JoJo. This was wonderful.
All right,
Part
peace.
two. We'll see you at part two.